Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place where every related to Amazon APA, product level, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and today we're bringing our special guest. Her name is Megan Harmon. She's managing partner at Thorncrest, where they specialize on helping with everything around brand protection. We all have seen as Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers in general how if you don't have the right IP or the right techniques and tools in the back end to protect your brand, it gets very difficult very fast to control, especially all those people out there that try to copycat and
Mhm.
pick out of your success. So that's going to be today's conversation with Megan, understanding how you can protect and future proof your brand, so essentially you can keep scaling into this platform. So Megan, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thank you, Vincenzo, for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. A pleasure, pleasure. So before we dive into today's conversation, which I'm sure is going to be very insightful, because I mean, this is something I get every single day. Somebody's copying my packaging, somebody's copying my image, somebody's copying X, Y, and Z. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things people are going to get out of this episode. But just tell us more about yourself and the company so people can get to know you. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So you had already mentioned it and gave a great intro. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we are a brand protection agency that is a holistic. So what does that mean exactly? Because that's kind of a buzzword. What we mean by that is that we provide the software that runs, scrapes, monitors Amazon, Walmart, and social selling sites. And we look at that software and we say, okay, are you having problem with unauthorized resellers? Is there counterfeit issues? Is there trade dress problems, copyright issues, trademark, duplicate listings, etc.? So we basically take our software, we manage and analyze that for the brand. So that we are a managed service plus SaaS. There is, we've been around for over 10 years. The how Thorncrest was founded was because we are from inside a brand. So being on the sales side, driving a brand's growth that was, I mean, triple digit year over year. Growth got out of control. It was great. It was exciting. Everyone was excited about that type of growth and that type of scaling. But what happens very quickly is that you start having your fundamentals start to kind of pull apart, right? You're not tracking as closely all of the dealers that you're signing. You're not necessarily tracking every single PO that's going out the door. You're having some bulk orders come from your .com site and like, wow, this is great. It's probably a business or B2B, but you don't really look into it much further because the reality is your to-do list is incredibly long and the entire to-do list is full of growth. It's
Yeah.
forward looking. It's not full of policing what's coming in.
Mm.
Everyone's kind of on this growth high, right? And growth really shouldn't be painful, but we all know it is. Operationally, when you grow that fast, things start to break. Everyone's wearing more than one hat, right? You sort of become a master of all trades as you're
Yeah.
trying to push forward while also juggling. And what happens during that period is original contracts get delayed sometimes. Your authorized resellers don't ever sign them, but you have a
Mhm.
handshake agreement and you're all on the same mutual footing, et cetera, and you're all running and excited about it. And so we felt this happened. It happened to us when we were scaling. Like I said, it was triple digit year over year. And what we didn't realize, and we didn't realize how bad it was until our customer service just kept getting phone calls. Product was breaking. It was overheating. We were in a consumer tech space at the time. And so, focus on quality control is major. We have to be very diligent with that. Um, we found that, I mean, double digit percentages of the returns were counterfeit product. They had counterfeited our serial number. They had counterfeited the physical product itself. They were putting things in the product, in the components where the chipset was, where the battery was, that did not belong in that product to make it heavier, to weigh it so that it felt like a quality premium solution. And at first it was, wow, I mean, we've made it. Someone to copy our product because they knew they could profit off of it. Um, but in the end, it became almost 20% of our returns, and we're having to ship out replacements for free. We're seeing mixed bin commingling, which now Amazon is doing away with.
Yeah.
which is excellent news. So we're super happy to see that, because that we found happening all the time. And beyond counterfeits, it was unauthorized resellers. Our dealers were starting to also sell on Amazon. Well, they can't sell on Amazon. Well, why not?
Yeah.
And then it's all of a sudden you look at your authorized reseller agreement. I sent it, but they never signed it, right? You
Yeah.
just have too much to juggle, too much is going on because you're looking forward. And we sold that brand, and we scaled it fast, sold it, we fixed as many problems as we could, but we basically had a hodgepodge of systems. We had SaaS systems, we had some IP trademark systems. So basically, we were logging into 3 or 4 systems, trying to control all of these facets independently. We moved to another brand, and the whole purpose of moving over there was to scale and build that brand. It started scaling and building, and all of the cogs started to break again. I mean, it was the same joints that we saw originally. And so we went to our trusted partners and said, okay, this was the software stack that worked
Yeah.
for us before. Let's use it again. It just was too much. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a need to have a consolidated solution, especially for brands that are scaling fast.
Yeah.
Logging into multiple software system, which you're probably already doing,
Yeah.
and then logging into 3 different ones for brand protection, which isn't on your first
And
page.
constantly keep doing it. That's keeping the
Yeah,
consistency. Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
it. If you take your eye off of it, they
That's
sneak
it.
in. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're not constantly diligent about it, it's like, well, we'll just drop the price at midnight. It's not going to impact the brand. We'll drop it real quick. We'll capture a couple hours of sales. They won't notice. And then all of a sudden you start seeing your numbers start to deplete. Well, because people are starting to see promo history. Well, wait a minute. If they're dropping it at night, I'm going to start purchasing at night or really early in the morning, because there tends to be better deals.
Yeah.
And if you're not at the office yet and you're not checking it, it's so we that's what Thorncrest,
Nice.
that's the gap. Basically, the coverage that we decided we needed to build was for scaling brands, for sales teams, and for legal teams as kind of a
Yeah.
supplemental support. We need to build an all-in-one where you have one contact, you have one software platform, and you have a team that's doing it so that you don't have to, right?
Cool.
We track KPIs, we quantify what we're doing and the ROI that we're providing. So basically, we make you the champion, but
It's like an
we work.
insurance at the end of the day. It's making sure
It,
that you're safeguarding the brand. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is. It really is. I mean, would you really go into business without business insurance? Not, no,
Yeah.
certainly would not. And so,
It's better
but
to
you've
be
got
proactive than reactive. Like every single time, and
it is
we see that every single day. If you're reactive, you end up most of the time being much more expensive, and the issue
much more
is not
expensive.
really resolved. Which brings me to, I guess, a question with everything we've been discussing so far, which is the timeline of when these things should be even done in the first place. Because I'm
Yeah.
sure people listening this episode today are asking themselves, like, when do I know when these things should be implemented? Is from day one? Should I do when I'm
Hmm.
kind of semi big? Like, what is your experience?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming this is something that people ask you all the time as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, certainly. Unfortunately, we get more reactive
Yeah. I can
inquiries,
imagine.
right? I mean, the
Yeah.
reality is if $100,000 loss hits you in the back of the head of sales, you're like, yeah, okay, I have to
Yeah.
do something, right? So
Yeah.
now we have to do it now. I should have done it earlier, but now I have to do it. So that's the unfortunate. That's usually the phone
The
calls we
case.
get are like, we need something now. Proactive, always better, always cheaper, because you don't get hit in the back of the head with $100,000 loss in 24 hours, right? You are being proactive with it. I'd say the moment that you launch and decide you're going to be an omni-channel brand, you need to look for insurance, brand protection immediately. So if you're not just going onto Amazon exclusively, if you're
Mm,
going to Walmart as well, if you're going to be selling on TikTok, if you're going to be
mm,
social selling, this isn't just retail and online, it's omni-channel within the e-commerce industry too, right? I mean, social selling is very different from selling on Amazon, from
mhm.
selling on Walmart, even, right? Different tactics, different strategies for some brands. So the moment you decide it's not just Amazon and your own D2C, that's when you should call a brand protection agency and just monitor your product. You don't need enforcement yet, But
Hmm.
if you can monitor it, which is much less expensive, we can immediately flag when we start seeing
Before it
issues
gets too
pop
big.
up.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's like, wait, we've got leaks. Something's happening, right? Let's check with D2C. Are they seeing bulk orders?
Mm.
Amazon, what does your business side of Amazon look like? Are you
Yeah.
allowing more than one or two purchases? How big is your discount on Amazon business? Because we see that a lot happen as well, where brands didn't check that. They're like, well, we just did a blanket 30%, but we didn't give them a max, purchase, or, we didn't require certain elements to be within that business purchase. And then
Yeah.
you see those business purchases are really just the same
Coming back
sellers
as
with
a
another
reseller.
account. That's right.
Yeah.
They're just the same sellers, just under a different account. So proactive, I mean, just monitor and know what's happening on the back end with your trademark. Do you have a trademark? You should. You're right. With your trade dress, if you are going into retail with packaging, if packaging is a big thing for you as a brand, depending on what your strategy is. And do you have an authorized reseller agreement? Are you allowing other people to sell online?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's a good idea to reset once you decide to expand and say, where do I want to go with this? Because if you can set up a foundation early, a digital authorized reseller agreement, so you're not floating paper, right? This is a click through, easy
Hmm.
to do. If you can set up standards like that when you decide to go beyond one or two channels, or one or two e-tailers, if you will,
Hmm.
that's where you're going to see your foundation is going to remain stable throughout your growth, right?
Yeah.
Rather than having the train fall off the tracks.
Cool. So now I guess a question I have for all the different kind of attacks I guess you can receive as a brand, which one are you seeing are the ones that are being more common lately? Does it have to do with resellers? Does it have to do with kind of as we mentioned counterfeit that replicate your
Mhm.
product, your packaging? What is the ones you get the most calls lately?
Yeah.
What do you think is the root cause and possible kind of solution moving forward to avoid that from happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is different by category. So
Hmm.
I would say in consumer electronics, we see reseller activity is
Okay.
incredibly high, unauthorized reseller activity.
Hmm.
We also see that in music and audio
Interesting.
space.
Okay.
Unauthorized reseller activity is really high. Um, we're not seeing, I mean, we do see counterfeits there as well, but I'd say your unauthorized reseller activity tends to be the highest
Yeah.
and the most advanced. So the sellers that we're seeing are are purchasing your inventory in very clever ways, which makes it
Yeah.
very difficult to
They're
track
very
them, right?
sophisticated, I guess. They have
Very
different loopholes.
sophisticated.
Yeah.
That's right. I
Yeah.
mean, this is typically with consumer electronics brands, we have to pull back like their distribution network and look at,
Mm.
POs, and we'll do that level of analysis. Like
Yeah.
this PO history is not in line with standard PO history for this
Exactly.
partner. Right. So that's beauty. We see trade dress, packaging,
Mm.
major. We see that we see packaging popping up in both the supplement and the beauty space on e-commerce, but also social sites. Social sites tend to be where we see trade dress issues the most. So you can have a trademark and you can have a copyright, let's say, but when
Yeah.
someone's on TikTok and the packaging looks almost identical, the color scheme, the gradient, the type font on the front almost identical to what your brand is,
Kind
people
of
are
what
looking at
Aldi
that.
and Leader does. I don't know if you know Aldi and Leader supermarkets in Europe. They do the same. They use the same packages, same thing, but they say in terms of hands, they might use their own brand. It's exactly the
Yeah,
same game.
that's and people don't they don't see it. They're like, "Oh, that's it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy it. I had no idea," right? So
Yeah.
it is exactly that, and we've seen
Mm.
that with brands. I mean, we had a brand in the beauty space that we within 60 days, we took down 300
Wow.
trade dress and
Mm.
copyright violations
Yeah.
just within TikTok network.
Which
Like
is
it was
revenue that now goes to you. It's a huge impact.
exactly
Yeah.
revenue that goes to you.
Yeah.
Supplements, we see counterfeit a lot, and that's really dangerous. and
Yeah,
upsetting for all of us who are buying supplements. So
yeah,
buy from the brand, not from a seller. But yeah, it's different by category. And I would say that AI has exaggerated
made it easier, I guess, for some of these
so
people.
much easier,
Yeah,
so much easier for everybody else to copy what you're doing.
yeah,
If you're a clothing brand, copyrights, I mean, almost don't matter anymore because they're just taking your shoe and they're tweaking a
a few
small
things.
element of it, and
Yeah,
it's enough to where that it won't be taken down. Now some sites will take it down still,
yeah,
and we still do it and try to, but clothing, apparel, shoes, they're getting hit very hard with this because handbags, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's just all it has to be is just a minor tweak on the image, and it's
And
not
that's it.
technically copyright.
Now,
That's it.
Now, talking about taking down and your expertise when it comes working, with all these marketplaces, which one would you say is the most effective? Because we know, especially myself, that I specialize the most in Amazon, but we also do Walmart and other marketplaces. We see Amazon now releasing more and more tools like with brand registry and things like that. That they're
Yep.
they're really trying to close that loophole, but we still see people gaming the system. So, do you see from expertise like Amazon getting better and better, or you still see like a lot of things happening that shouldn't be happening? What has been your experience? Yeah,
I'd say Amazon has more tools in play, which is helpful. So things uh, uh, like you said, brand registry, yes, certainly, but also I mean, no more commingling.
yeah,
I mean, they're adding more and more tools, which is helpful. It has not stopped the
mm,
problem. I think it's just made the barrier for entry for some of these sellers a little bit higher, right? So basically, you either are going to sell thousands of these or hundreds, but selling two is
doesn't
almost
make
not
sense.
worth it
Yeah,
much
yeah,
anymore, right? Where we get a lot of that before. Um, but Amazon, if it isn't a copyright, a true copyright infringement, if it isn't an exact trademark infringement, Amazon won't touch it. There is no
like you
there's
mentioned,
no
they play a
gray.
bit with
There's
design.
there's a
Yeah, yeah,
very much they've put the tools in place, but they're also very black and white when it comes to
decisions.
any decisions. Yeah, and which is challenging because that means that you then have to go back to the brand and we've got to
It's
pull
open to
apart.
interpretation. Yeah, yeah,
We've got to figure out where it's the supply chain leak is.
yeah.
I would say Walmart is very receptive.
Mm,
They probably, I mean, for enforcement purposes, they respond quickly, they act
interesting.
quickly, and
Mm,
they almost lean on the side of the brand
yeah,
versus the seller. And so, but I think when it comes to Amazon, I mean, the third party network for them is massive,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's where they're making lots of their money, right? So
yeah, yeah.
I think they have to kind of look at it as a black and white. Things like patents they won't even touch. That has
I
to be
know.
dealt with in the court system.
Yeah,
So it's TikTok is also very receptive to removals. Walmart, most of the social sites, frankly, even Ally Group and DHgate and Made in China, which is where we see a lot of phishing, counterfeit
yeah,
phishing
yeah, yeah.
happening, they're very receptive.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's I'd say the biggest fight is probably on Amazon. We
Mm.
have to be the
Where most of
most
the money realistically also is. That's why.
we have to be the most persistent. We have to be
Yeah,
we escalate more often on Amazon. But we also, Thorncrest, we're tied to a law firm. So it is those types of emails and cease and desist being
that
sent
really makes a
out
difference.
have
Yeah,
a little bit more weight, feel a little heavier when you receive an email from a lawyer, or if you get, I mean, we physically send them to people's homes.
yeah.
So,
I was gonna
if you
ask you
were,
that because some of these bad players sometimes are also international players. So, how are you seeing also handling that? Like, let's say somebody's in China or some of these countries that they might think, yeah, come and fight me, right? Like, I'm gonna keep
that's
doing it.
right.
How you
Yeah.
handle
And
that,
they
right?
do.
Yeah,
Well, it depends on what they've done. If it's a
yeah,
counterfeit, I mean, you can take action, and we do. I broke up a little bit there, but
yeah,
so
yeah.
basically, we file a counterfeit, and and we send actions, if they're based out of China, they're unlikely to respond to those because it's a PO box.
Mm-hmm.
So we do see more enforcement ability with international partners. Actually, the ones who are the hardest to remove are the ones that have a local supply chain network. So it's the sellers that are doing a lot of business and they're buying from distribution or liquidation or whatever, or excess inventory that are being sold by pallets from retail, et cetera, right? Kind of bundled stock. Those are probably the hardest to remove. But we do operate in 23 different countries. So
Mm-hmm.
we can, if you've got problems in the UK or in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
we can also address those too. Now, pricing policies are very different in Europe. So you wouldn't,
Yeah.
that's not a discussion you would have in Europe.
Cool.
You would certainly have a discussion though about your channel
Mm-hmm.
and controlling that channel and counterfeits and of course copyright and trademark infringements, very valid.
Cool.
But you have to be trademarked,
Yeah.
right? So you
Yeah.
have to have
To
filed
protect
that
them.
with the Madrid protocol. Yep, that's absolutely to be protected.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to, and now we're coming to the end of the episode, something I would like to conclude with is like how we prevent this in the shape of maybe at the manufacturing level, because I'm hearing now people what they do is they might add a unique kind of sticker at the packaging level, a unique kind of a QR code, that they're adding
Hmm.
things that people will not be able to replicate or create a copy out of it. So what are some of the tips maybe you discuss with your clients that now by doing this, people just make it very difficult for them to copy your packaging or product, or even
Hmm.
at the images level you might embed something on the image that make it very traceable, like yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's all of those are great ideas,
Hmm.
frankly. So I think first we would also say if you're manufacturing in Asia, we would recommend trademarking in that territory.
Cool.
That also helps upon export when you've got possibly counterfeit product coming into the
Hmm.
US, right? But so at the manufacturing level, if you can do um, QR codes tend to work quite well actually when you register. So brands, we're
Hmm.
seeing a lot of them do QR codes on the back,
Nice.
take a snapshot, register it, and we'll let you know if this product is legitimate, right?
Hmm.
Or if it's a fake, and you register the number on that QR code, and it's like, yep, we're all good. I mean, at the manufacturing level for brands, I'd say in your packaging, on the physical product, maybe in the box, a QR code on the product, or a holographic QR code or image,
Hmm.
something to that effect. That way, if it is being copied, it may only be copied on the packaging. They might not be copying the product, and therefore the product
Hmm.
wouldn't have a registered number. Serialization for any electronic product,
Hmm.
we would highly recommend. Anything with electronic components, anything that has a warranty policy,
Yeah.
serialize it and track the serial numbers from manufacturer to your door, to distribution to retail, and make sure you've got a partner that can track and trace that. Because that is, if it does not have a warranty, especially on electronic
Yeah.
components, it is a material difference. And that's something that you certainly can claim if the product has not been
Yeah.
validated and doesn't have the right serial numbers.
Cool. I mean, Mega,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I know this is a topic that will go on for hours. There's so many things that we can definitely unpack, but I think we touched some of the.
Unfortunately, right? I wish it was a
Yeah,
simple problem with one simple solution, right?
I know, but it is what it is.
Well,
But it's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much
thank
for
you,
sharing
Vincenzo.
your knowledge with us. I'm sure some people might want to, have a deeper conversation, explore how they can work with you. So
Absolutely.
tell us how people can find
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vincenzo. You can please go ahead and try and book a call. Where
Mhm.
I do discovery calls often. So if you've got simple questions about policies that you're trying to implement, or if you're looking at Q4, which is now, and you're going, well, we are gunning for sales, but we do have some of these issues. We often are able to clean things up within 60 to 90 days. So if we can clean things up while you're also running to the finish line, we can work in tandem and create a better Q4. So it's not too late. to implement a program. That something is better than nothing. But please go ahead and schedule a discovery call with me, and I'd be happy to talk with you about it and answer any questions that you might have. And thank you so much, Vincenzo, for having me on. I
Thank you.
really appreciate it. You guys do great work, so I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you, Megan. It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to have you on the next one as well. Okay, so have a good one. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.